Hello everyone, thank you for coming along. This session is being recorded. We will make the recording available publicly after the session, but we will stop before the end to take questions after we've finished recording. So hello, welcome along to the Improving Local Authority Building Control Alpha R&D Show and Tell number 9. My name is Tom Gaylor. I'm one of the designers working on the project from Unboxed, working alongside Lambeth and obviously many other local authorities, some of whom are here today. If we can move along.
Sorry, yeah. Great. There we go.
So on our agenda today, we're going to talk a little bit about research, some updates on the design and prototyping work we've been doing with a sort of demo of some of that stuff, particularly on site inspections, a quick update on the coded prototype, and the further data stack. We'll close off with what's coming up next. Just to revisit what we've set out to do as part of this Alpha Vision, and we are sort of coming towards the end of this phase now. So we set out to explore, prototype and test solutions that demonstrate how building control can be improved to deliver a better user experience for customers, staff, and improve the quality and usefulness of data, and to position local authorities as the service provider of choice. Great, thank you. So quick update on some of the research. So the research has been mostly interacting with sort of different organisations related to the project, where we've previously been doing a lot more sort of user and staff research. One of the big conversations we've had recently is with HM Land Registry, and particularly with their team working on the property data pilot. So I'm sure some of you will be aware that there's been a long ongoing project around local land charges searches. This property data pilot team are looking more at the Con29 searches, which is particularly relevant for building control, because building control data isn't relevant for local land charges, but is relevant for these Con29 searches. And so we discussed the work we've been doing on data standards and the way we're sharing that and the value of that work, and they're keen to have sort of continued engagement. So we've planned to, I think, have monthly catch-ups with that team going forwards. In addition to that, we've also had interviews with some of the suppliers, so DEF, who make the MasterGov system, and IEG4, who make Agile, I think is their product. We've talked to them about some of our data standards work and continue to sort of build a community around that as we go forward, which is really exciting. I'm going to hand over to Dawn for the next section.
Right, thanks, Tom. Okay, so during this sprint, what we've been doing with our design and prototyping, we've been focusing on site inspections. This is following on from the co-design workshop we held a few weeks ago. We've looked at the on-site section of the journey, and we've incorporated a lot of the ideas that were discussed. So what I'm going to do is just show you in a different screen some of this slides. 1 second. Okay. Right, so it's not actually a coded prototype yet, just a few screens, but here's the journey. So we start at the point where a surveyor is picking up the inspections for the day. They're presented with a map to show them where the different locations are, where they are, and potentially they'll be able to plan a route so they can have the most efficient route for the day, and that would put all the different inspections in an order. The inspector then will be able to click on the inspections. So say the top one. Oops, sorry. And then they will be able to review the details of that inspection, so of that site, sorry. So you've got the details of the description of work, who they would be contacting, access notes. There'd also be a tab for history, because we know it's important that surveyors see any previous contraventions or any outstanding requirements, so they have those to hand when they're on site. Also details of in previous inspections, so they get up to speed what would happen before. And also there'd be a tab for documents. We know that this is a challenge for surveyors at the moment, being able to access documents on site. So we propose some sort of preparation before this, where they would be able to select what documents they would need, and then they will be able to download them. So if they do have connection issues while they're on site, they would have access to those. Then moving on, this is when they're actually on site. They go through some steps of confirming access, yes or no. If they can't have access, then that can close the inspection at that point. Assess risk. Is it actually safe for them to go on site? Again, if not, that could end the inspection. And then they would start the inspection. So they would check in and start the time recording on that. They will then be presented with the inspections available to them for that site. So we know from the research that sometimes there could be the opportunity to do multiple inspections, especially if it was just finishing a recheck, and there could be the one afterwards. So you could present them with multiple inspections, and they would choose which one they would need. So say groundworks and foundations recheck. They would then be able to put some notes, record some notes on arrival, so weather conditions, perhaps who's present. This is something we would want to research more to understand what would need to be recorded. And then they would be able to make observations. So this was the key, definitely one of the key challenges that we found out from the research, that surveyors are not able to easily combine observations with photos to give that full picture of what they've observed. So I hope you can see, I can zoom in a little bit. But what we propose is that they will be able to add multiple photos if need be, using their device. Then they will be able to record some notes, and then they'll be able to decide the outcome. So is there any action required? No, it's just an observation, or they want to create a requirement from this, or record as a contravention. Again, through research, we need to understand if these are the right outcomes, but an idea that you have a next step following that observation you've made. And then the observations would be gradually added to the page at the bottom as they continue. So that's record observations. They also we have discharge items. So as they're going through the inspection, they will be able to discharge contraventions, requirements, potentially even link them to the observations they've made. So it's part of the process that they can do while they're on site. Then they will record the outcome. Was it compliant? Any comments they want to make at that point to finish off the inspection. And then we come to a draft report. So through during the co-design workshop, surveyors talked about the ability to record as much as possible while they're on site, getting as much done then before they leave. So we're proposing this idea that they could actually form a draft report, pulling all that information that they've been gathering into one place that they could review at that point. So information about the site, other conditions that they've been recording that they could actually change if they spot a spelling mistake or they wanted to add some more detail at this point. And then what they've captured, so what requires action, whether it's contravention or requirement, what they've discharged while they've been on site, and also any observations. So it gives that transparency of the point when they leave the inspection on the system. It would show what has actually happened during that inspection, and it can be, if a report needed to be sent to the applicant, it could be at that point sent on. They would then finish that part of the inspection, and then they will return to pick up another inspection, and they can continue with the journey. So say early days, this is just our first set of screens, and we really would love to test them with you. So I'm just going to go back to this presentation. So if you'd like to get in touch, involved in testing, please do get in touch either on Slack or drop me a line via email. But I also will be sending out some details via email and on Slack, so do share with colleagues if they'd like to get involved. Great, thank you. So I'm going to now pass over to Rhiannon to talk about updates to the coded prototype.
Great. Lovely to see so many people here. Thanks for joining. Those of you who were here last week or who've watched the video will have seen that last week I demoed the coded prototype and went through the whole circular journey from the new application landing page to the customer portal and back again, allowing that two-way communication. I'm not going to do a full demo this time, but next week these are some of the things that that I will be aiming to show. So this week we've done allowing the customer to create building notices or initial notices directly in the portal so that they can see they've submitted those, and the back office staff and surveyors can see that those notices have been created on the landing page. We've made some small enhancements to the landing page, but the big piece of work that I'm working on, which should be available at the next show and tell, is the design checks and creating requirements, which is obviously the bit that follows on from validation. So yeah, we'll show that next time. Moving forward, we're going to talk a little bit about data standards. So Rebecca, lovely to see you on the call. Thank you very much for your help with sending me the redacted notices last week. I already had some, but it was just invaluable to see some that were not from London Council, and just so happy to have you on board, apart from the fact that we're neighbours. The data standards repo now contains all the specifications for building notices, along with the existing initial notices and full plan submission schemas. But as well as that, that's allowed us to create a table of differences for a quick overview. So going forward, obviously one of the things that's most important with this is to involve as many of you as we can with contributing to criticising, pulling apart, whatever the building standards, the building control data standards suggested schemas that we've put together. Thank you, Tom. For people who understandably haven't used GitHub before, we've got a variety of ways that you can give feedback on this. We have a video which was of a session that we had, which Jordan ran, so you can get in touch with Jordan to look at that. But probably the quickest way is to reach out to me directly, either on Slack or via email, and then I can talk you through ways of reading through and contributing. So moving forward, this is an example of the type of thing that we're specifying for building notices for people who haven't actually had a chance to look at the data standards repository yet. So the sort of things that we're looking at, like with full plans, is finding a consistent way of presenting fields such as address fields, details about duty holders, site information, and so on. And we've had a go at this column of musts and mays, which for those of you who were in the Lichfield workshop will remember, not every authority works in the same way on these. Some are musts and some are mays. So we're trying to sort of reach some sort of consensus on that. But this is the kind of thing that you'll be looking at if you go to the data standards repository. And next slide, please. Yeah, so the table that I've put together, that I was just, Jordan, thank you so much. Yeah, Jordan's just dropping in the location of the recording where I went through how to contribute to the repository. So the sort of thing that we're looking at in the table, we've got columns for full plans, building notice, initial notice, so that we can sort of quickly see what the differences may possibly be. And as you know, I'm not a domain expert, you are, so we would love your input with this. I'm pretty sure, Dawn, if you could move on. Yes, that concludes what we've been up to in the last 2 weeks. So what are we working on for the sprint that we're just going into? Further research and testing, of course, that's such a huge part of what we're doing, that's running throughout the whole project. And if you can think of anyone that we should speak to for research and testing, get in touch with one of us. We'll be working on prototyping the completion journey, and I will be working on the coded prototype as I described. So I will be finishing the design checks part of this, and very excitingly, the prototype that Dawn showed you earlier, I'll be starting to build out a fully coded version of that, so that that will be actually usable. And the other thing that we're looking at, as Tom said, we've been talking to different people, different partners, different providers about integration points. We've started putting together a document about things that need to come into the system and locations where data needs to go out of the system and be put into. So lots more coming up, and we're hoping that you'll join us for our next show and tell, which is
which is going to be on the 6th of May.
Yeah, same time, 6th of May. Back to you, Tom.
I will just pause the recording and then we can take any questions.